Coming to you from the Hudson Media Group studio, this is Talking Politics. And I am New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist, top 50 Latino as voted on by the Latino Spirit online magazine, along with the United States Latino Affairs Initiative. And certainly now, ladies and gentlemen, now more than ever, I'll continue to be your weapon of mass disruption in Garden State Media because my level of honesty is truly necessary in this era of journalistic deception. That's right, folks. It's me, Fernando Uribe. Once again, as we continue on through the month of April, and yes, we all survived the solar eclipse. Hopefully the days are getting warmer, but you know what? Here on this show, we never stop talking politics. So let's get to it. Here's what I'm thinking about right now. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me just preface this by saying that, it seems like probably I'm picking on Hoboken Mayor Ravi Bala way too much, but quite frankly, folks, he deserves it. This is a guy who brings on himself with some very classless behavior. And just when you think that Ravinder could not get any more classless or do anything more distasteful during this current campaign that he's running during the Democrat primary coming up on June the 8th against the incumbent freshman U.S. Representative Rob Menendez here in the 8th Congressional District. Well, guess what? Ravinder always finds a way to surprise us, and last week was no exception. So let me just sort of take you back to a tweet that Rob Menendez put out last week on X. It was a picture of him, his lovely wife, and his beautiful children. He goes on to say, "This is the Menendez household and who I fight for, along with every resident and family of the 8th in Washington and New Jersey every single day." Now, of course, great picture. Certainly, I think one that you would think would not merit any sort of ridicule or backlash or criticism. But once again, leave it up to Ravinder to take the low road here. And of course, Ravinder goes on to retweet that tweet of Rob and his family and says, "You have a beautiful family, but you know who else you clearly fight for? Hint, he likes bribery and gold bars. Your silence about your dad tells us everything. Remember when you testified to get your dad out of jail the last time he was indicted for bribery with Meglin? Will you testify for him again when the trial starts in just a few weeks?" Well, folks, let me just preface this by saying that was probably as classless a move by the mayor of Hoboken that I can ever recall seeing in sort of local politics. Now, all Robbie had to do was just simply take a picture of Rob and his dad and tweet that out with that caption, and that would be fine, and I would not object to that, even though I think still kicking Rob when he's down and sort of going with the sins of the father are cast upon the son, right? Like that's what the old acronym says, right? Well, I mean, again, folks, I believe in due process, and I've been tired of talking about this on this program here. Okay, just like we should all believe in due process for the 45th, for Donald Trump, right? We should also believe in due process for Bob Menendez. Okay, 45th president deserves it and is entitled to that as an American, right? Again, folks, if you ever took constitutional law or read the Bill of Rights, you would know that. Well, Bob Menendez is entitled to the same protections as well. Now, we'll find out coming up on May the 8th when his federal trial starts in New York. And we'll find out what happens. We'll find out what the prosecution has to say, and we'll find out what his defense attorneys have to say. Okay, again, folks, these are all allegations. And as I've said before, all it takes is one juror, folks. All it takes is one juror to believe that the FBI is somewhat out to get the senior United States senator, that the FBI likes to, I guess, politicize and weaponize the law against perhaps the president's enemies. Right? We've all heard this, right? Or that the Department of Justice is incompetent or corrupt. Yeah, we've all heard this. All it takes is one juror to believe Senator Menendez's defense attorneys. That yes, that the DOJ, that the FBI, and that the U.S. Attorney's Office have it in for Bob Menendez. Is that so far-fetched? Probably not. If you looked at his trial from 2017, now again, at that time, it was then President Trump and his Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, who chose not to retry the case against Bob Menendez. And if you all recall, when Donald Trump was leaving office on January 20th, 2021, one of his last-minute pardons, as presidents seem to do when they leave office, was for Dr. Meglin, one of Bob Menendez's associates. And of course, it's all out there, folks. It's not like it's, speculation. It's public record. Donald Trump has said openly that he felt that Bob Menendez was part of a witch hunt, that they were out to get him. Okay, thus leading to, obviously, the Department of Justice under Donald Trump looking to not retry the case against Bob Menendez. Now we'll see under the Biden administration what this Department of Justice is going to do. But again, I don't want to so much focus on Dad. Let's get to Rob. Okay? And what Rob has done during this campaign, folks, he's certainly taken the high road. Now, again, that's hard for a lot of us to do, especially when someone takes a shot blatantly like Ravi did against his family. So I credit Rob Menendez for once again not taking the bait and taking the high road. We're going to find out soon enough, folks, that later this month, when both of them will participate in a debate hosted by the New Jersey Globe and its editor, David Wildstein. Coincidentally, they will also be having a debate here in the Hudson Media Group studio, hosted by Hudson County View editor and fellow Pinnacle member, of course, along with being a Rutgers alumnus, John R. Hines, here once again at the Hudson Media Group studio. So we'll find out exactly how courageous Robbie's going to be when he has to look at Rob face to face and not have that sort of keyboard courage that he's been having for months on his smartphone, or whoever's running his social media pages for his congressional campaign site. But in any event, folks, this is what's funny about Ravi Bala, right? We all know, and again, Rob is taking the high road here, but we all know that looking at the traffic on that post, and yes, it's gotten a very good amount of views, obviously over 59,000 views, but what's more disappointing is the 140 likes that I saw from people locally, I'm sure, that somehow encourage this behavior and somehow think that this is appropriate. That somehow Ravi Bala, and again, you want to take a shot at Rob, feel free to do that. But leave his wife and his kids out of this. Okay, you could have very easily taken a picture of him with his father and used that for any fodder that you have. But again, you chose to go for the low-hanging fruit. Again, folks, But then again, when you have to look in the mirror, like Ravi Bala, quite frankly, is there anything to look at? And of course, you have to look in the mirror, and if you're looking like Ravi Bala, you probably want to avoid mirrors at all costs. See what I did there, folks? Go for the low-hanging fruit? Doesn't sound nice, does it? Well, that's exactly how it sounds, or at least that's how it reads with Ravi Bala last week. But let's even delve into this a little bit further. Folks, is there any doubt whatsoever if roles were reversed and Ravinder was taking a picture with his wife and kids, and Rob decided to use it in a retweet and maybe say something, I don't know, disparaging about Ravi's horrible record as mayor in Hoboken or his unethical behavior as an attorney? I guarantee you, Ravi Bala would be on MSNBC. He'd be on Rachel Maddow's show, right, with his 10 viewers that Rachel has, right? Or he'd be on CNN with Jake Tapper, who maybe 11, 12 viewers the most. Maybe that's what he caps at. And he'd be crying racism. He'd be screaming bigotry, right? Didn't we already hear this already back in 2017 when he ran for mayor, right, with that mysterious flyer that somehow we never really learned who sent that flyer out during the mayoral campaign? But let me not digress here. Again, but you do see the double standard here, right? We all know Ravi Bala would immediately cry racism, bigotry, xenophobia, and anti-immigrant stands by Rob Menendez, right? And of course, we all know that that's all Ravi has to go on. Because if we're talking about Ravi's record, let's talk about that record in Hoboken. Let me see. Ravi seems to be more concerned with pronouns than property taxes, as developers are swallowing up Hoboken quicker than girls on their OnlyFans swallowing other things. Well, that's what's going on right now in the Moscow City. Or the idea that, during Pride Month, one of the more insufferable times of the year for me personally, guess what? He feels it's okay with taxpayer dollars to have drag queen story time at the Hoboken Public Library. And if parents object to that, they're somehow homophobes or transphobes or bigots. No, they're not, folks. Parents, just like anybody else, would want to object if their tax dollars are being used to have drag queen story time, to have drag queens read to 5-year-olds. You want to do that at a private bookstore, there's plenty to choose from in the city of Hoboken. But don't do it at the Hoboken Public Library. But somehow Ravi Bala applauds this. To say nothing of the fact about the rat problem in the city of Hoboken. No, not the rats working at City Hall, like Vijay Chamori, his chief of staff or his campaign manager, or other rats working at City Hall down on Washington Street. No, folks, we're talking about actual physical rats, like rodents, that are running rampant throughout the city of Hoboken and that are causing a health hazard to seniors, to children, and to residents overall. They have to walk very, very diligently because guess what? Whenever there are any garbage bags out in Hoboken, and mind you, folks, again, more on garbage pickups a little bit later in the program, okay? But guess what? That's a problem from a public health perspective. Or the fact that flooding still goes on in Hoboken. But don't worry, Ravi's on top of it because he'll just open another park or inaugurate another dog park somewhere in downtown Hoboken, right? Or during Pride Month, again, when parking is still an issue in downtown Hoboken. No, he's making sure that all the crosswalks are repainted for rainbow colors during Pride Month. That's the record that Ravi Bala has to run on. Quite frankly, how is that better than Rob Menendez's record? Now, again, Rob Menendez and I don't see eye to eye on a lot of policy perspectives. And we have a lot of issues in the sense of how we look at things politically. Okay? But we can remain friends. We've gone out to dinner. We can have drinks. We can talk on the phone. We can text. And we can be civil with each other. But the one thing, folks, that is undeniable about Rob Menendez is he's gone to Washington, D.C. in his capacity as a member of the House of Representatives in the 8th Congressional District. And he's done the work. He's rolled up his sleeves as a freshman U.S. representative. And guess what he's done? He has decided to bring back millions of dollars to the 8th Congressional District. And folks, isn't that what a U.S. representative is supposed to be doing? So he's doing his job. Does he merit re-election? Certainly. Because if you're doing your job and you're doing it well, and you're bringing back federal dollars to the congressional district that you represent, well then, folks, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're doing what people elected him to do. Now, what can Ravi Bala run on? Oh, I can raise money. Oh, that's cute. Well, okay, but who are you raising money from? Who are you getting endorsed by? More on that later. Okay? What does Ravi had to go on in terms of a record? No, he'd rather go for the low-hanging fruit. And he would rather take pot shots at Rob, and obviously he's doing it to his family as well. Do me a favor, Ravi. Leave Rob and his beautiful wife out of it, and leave his beautiful kids out of it. They have nothing to do with this race. It's between you and Rob Menendez. And let's be honest, when it comes to the issues and platforms, what's Ravi going to run on? Oh, yes, on my first day in office, when I was elected and I was inaugurated as mayor of Hoboken, I made Hoboken a welcoming city. Because you know what? There was this anti-immigrant stance out there by the President of the United States. No, there wasn't, Ravi. And we both know that you're embellishing that. Okay? But again, leave it to the left and leave it to progressives and all the woke fools and Democrats and liberals to embellish and sort of misrepresent words by the 45th president. Okay? Now, again, Ravi, if that's all you have to run on, I feel pretty bad for you coming up on June the 8th. But what's even worse, folks, is the idea about the endorsements that Ravi Bala continues to get here. And this is where it's really, really, really funny here, right? Because as I mentioned before, obviously we all know about Ravi's ethical dilemmas, right? You can go to the corruptravi.com, obviously. Great website designed by the Rob Menendez campaign. Again, you can look at all of Ravi's ethical dilemmas and all of his indiscretions there, whether it comes before having to appear in front of the New Jersey Supreme Court Disciplinary Review Board, or having his law license suspended back in 2019, or being censured in June of 2018 by the Supreme Court of New Jersey, or for just the reality that you can't practice law in the state of New York, Ravi, because your license is suspended. Again, all these ethical questions, but somehow Ravi Bala thinks it's good to go after Rob Menendez. There's nothing unethical about Rob Menendez. Now, again, you can look at whatever allegations his father's being accused of, and again, folks, you can make your own determination. That's why we go to court. That's why there's a prosecutor, and that's why there's a defense attorney. And they'll talk to 12 men and women, and they'll make a decision about Rob's father. But it's not up to Ravi to make that decision. It's up to a jury of his peers. And we'll find out as this trial begins once again on May 8th and probably lasts throughout the spring and summer. But again, folks, when we talk about Ravi Bala, what does he have to run on? He doesn't have a record, and he certainly doesn't have any viable endorsements. Again, as I mentioned before, we look at former failed congressional candidates. We have Hector Seguera, Chiquitin, right? All 5 foot 2 inches of him. And again, folks, you have to be careful. Don't string your back or, pull a quad because you're bending down so much just to make eye contact with Hector Seguera next time you see him at a political event. Again, be careful. Quads can tear quite easily when you're having to squat that low. And again, if you haven't stretched, be careful there. So when you see Hector, make sure you stretch beforehand. Again, we don't want you pulling or tearing any muscles. Okay? Or, again, David Ocampo Grajales, again, another campesino that quite frankly had no business running for office. And what did he run on? Oh, yes, let's defund the police. Let's have universal basic income. Every progressive policy that doesn't work, folks. But again, don't say that to David. David's more concerned with forgetting that he was, pelando papa y malanga allá en el campo for as long as he was. But of course, here in the United States, there isn't a policy that he can stand on that actually makes any sense. But these are the people endorsing Ravi Bala. Or even here's a better one that, folks, I have to give it to him. What a surprise. Color me surprised that Phil Cohen, the future dance instructor, okay, have you ever checked out Phil Cohen and Emily Jabor. What an embarrassment, folks. Can we start a GoFundMe for them to take some dance lessons? I mean, I don't know if you saw them at the Equality Prom last year for Hudson Pride. My God, well, embarrassing. But again, folks, for a guy that was the perpetual campaigner, for a guy that ran with county support against Stick Romano some years ago and still got smoked, again, the only reason that he won an office in Hoboken was because the incumbent chose not to run again. It's not really a race I would be really proud of. But again, hey, to the winner go the spoils. But these are the clowns: Phil Cohen, Emily Jabor, Joe Quintero, and all the rest of the Lollipop Guild, and the rest of the slapnuts and ham and eggers in Hoboken politics, and Hudson County progressives and liberals that are sort of put all their chips in the middle of the table for Ravi Bala. You know what they say, folks? Be careful when you're betting in poker. Put all your chips in the middle of the table. You may not have the hand that you necessarily need or want. In this case, come June 8th, I'll tell you one thing about the hand. It's the hand that's going to slap Ravi electorally when Rob cleans his clock. Remember, I said that. And that's what I'm thinking about right now. Let's stay in Hoboken, and a special thank you to Tap Into Hoboken, owned by my good friend Steve Lennox there, and of course, great reporting by Matt McCann. Now, apparently, the City Council approved a 2-year, $7.5 million agreement with Cali Carding when it comes to the garbage collection contract, which again brings now a 73% price hike. Now, a new 2-year contract for garbage collection in Hoboken is costing the city over $7.5 million, a 73% increase from the previous contract. Now, despite the price hike, services provided by Cali Carding will remain the same. Well, I'll believe it when I see it, folks. But according to officials in Hoboken, where garbage is collected 6 days per week in the business district and 3 times per week in the residential areas, currently has among the highest rates of collection in Hudson County. Now, an increase in cost of qualified personnel, equipment, insurance, and fuel are some of the reasons for the sharp increase in the waste hauling contract, according to Director of Climate Action and Innovation, Jennifer Guzman. Folks, leave it to Ravi Bala to come up with these BS titles in city government, right? The Director of Climate Action and Innovation. What exactly is Jennifer being innovative about, and what action is she taking? It's mind-boggling to me. Who presented the details to the Hoboken City Council at their most recent meeting. Now, Gonzalez went on to say, quote, "We were told prior to going out for bid that the industry is changing. It's been really tough since the pandemic, so we expected an increase. We didn't expect such a significant increase. Added that the last bid was in 2019, so inflation was also a factor." Yes, of course, folks, inflation, everything else in Joe Biden's America. Of course, Bidenomics is working so well that, hey, it's such a great economy where everything is just much more expensive. Go figure that one out too. All right. In her presentation, Gonzalez also showed that other municipalities had seen similar sharp increases in their recent garbage collection service contracts. The increased bids other cities received ranged from 33% to a whopping 160%. Now, one anonymous municipality rejected a bid after being told it was increasing by 300% and is now requiring residents to contract their garbage hauling services privately. Jesus Christ. Another large anonymous municipality with a population of 155,000 people settled for a contract that was only 20% higher, but which resulted in garbage pickup being reduced from 6 days to 2 days per week. Now, council members asked several questions, but appeared generally satisfied following the presentation. The contract was approved by a vote of 8-1, with councilman and perhaps future mayoral candidate in 2025, Mike Russo, who was at the meeting remotely, voting against. Well, folks, listen. Wonderful things happening in the city of Hoboken. Now, again, I cannot blame the city council per se, and I'm sure that many of them on the city council, such as Tiffany Fisher, Paul Prezenzano, Jen Giattino, Ruben Ramos, right, along with Mike Russo, I'm sure did their homework. We all know that the Lollipop Guild on the city council, right, Hoboken's little minions, right, there, obviously, that Ravi Bala, obviously, commands with a swift voice, as they say, Joe Quintero, Emily Jabor, and Phil Cohen. Again, the Lollipop Guild, I'm sure, will go along with anything that the city wants. And of course, since they don't know a good spending plan if it fell from the sky, this should concern Hoboken residents. Now, Hoboken's a very, very interesting city, folks. It's only a mile square, as they say, but the problem is, 6 times in the business district and 3 times at the residential. You might have to cut back a little bit on that, folks. Again, other cities like Union City, for example, only have garbage collection twice a week and 1 recycling day. West New York does the same thing. Now, they tend to be, I would argue, probably small municipalities in population compared to Hoboken. So why Hoboken's having so much garbage collection, again, that remains to be seen, and that's also up for discussion. But I would tell you, folks, again, when we talk about the fluidity in Hoboken and everything that's going right in Hoboken, well, there really isn't much to brag about. Once again, as we talk about, what record is Ravi Bala going to run on when it comes to how great the city of Hoboken has been under his leadership? In some happier news, let's travel north into the town of West New York, and a special thank you to Hudson County View editor and of course, member of the Pinnacle, John R. Highness, for his reporting on this very delightful story. The St. Joseph's of the Palisades Parish in West New York recently celebrated its 160th, that's right, folks, you heard correctly, 160th anniversary Mass with Cardinal Joseph Tobin last month in the town of West New York. Now, addressing, of course, the hundreds of gathered faithful, Tobin said that during the ceremony that it is fitting that the church was named after St. Joseph because just as he predicted Jesus, the parish has cared for Hudson County Catholics since 1863. The caller later attended a reception honoring 13 longtime employees and parishioners, including a 91-year-old congregation member who still hosts parish activities. The celebration was a wonderful experience, and the entire anniversary year was a great opportunity to show everyone we're a parish that's very vibrant and alive, according to Father Helber Victoria, once again the St. Joseph of the Palisades Parish current pastor. Our 160th year is over now, but by the grace of God, we'll continue to serve and welcome everyone for another 160 years. Auxiliary Bishop Gregory J. Studeros, who also celebrated with the clergyman, obviously along with Tobin, was also recognized for the 15 years he has served as the St. Joe's of the Palisades official pastor. Now, prior to the Mass itself, St. Joseph of the Palisades Parish commemorated its anniversary by marking numerous refurbishments to its convent, music room, kitchens, and other locations over the past year. Now, folks, I just want to sort of start off by saying that St. Joseph of the Palisades in West New York holds a special place in my heart. It's where I was able, again, as a Roman Catholic, I was able to complete my communion and also my confirmation. And coincidentally, it was the same church that my parents were married in 50 years ago. And coincidentally, last year, were able to renew their vows at the very same parish. So through baptisms, confirmations, communions, weddings, and everything else you can think of, folks, St. Joseph of the Palisades has truly been a staple and an icon in the community of West New York. Here's to another 160 years to St. Joseph of the Palisades in West New York. Let's return to Hoboken for, once again, the comedy that is Moscow City politics. And Hoboken 5th Ward Councilman Phil Cohen, to no one's surprise, has endorsed Ravi Bala for the 8th Congressional District race coming up in the Democrat primary on June the 8th. Obviously, no one's surprised here by Phil Cohen's endorsement of Ravinder in Hoboken. This is what's really funny. Check out this nonsense put out in a statement by Uncle Phil there. Quote, Ravi has effectively addressed the most important issues affecting our community. I can't even say this with a straight face. Including flood resiliency infrastructure. How? Hoboken's always flooded, Phil. Or are you asleep like you are, or, kind of like your New York Mets are every baseball season, right? Climate change, yeah, of course. Parks and green spaces, yes. As Hoboken continues to get flooded, Ravi's inaugurating a new park every other week, as well as Vision Zero progress for pedestrian safety. I've seen it firsthand as the leader of the Hoboken Democratic Party, which is a joke, folks. Whether it's the former local chair, Emily Hodis, whatever her name is, I don't know. As an engaged community leader and as a councilman, engaged of what? You're disengaged from reality, Phil, but that's another conversation. I know he will bring that same results-oriented, the innovative approach and dedication to taking on the most important challenges to our nation's capital. I enthusiastically endorse Mayor Ravi Bala to represent New Jersey's 8th Congressional District. Of course, the batting lines in Hoboken have been pretty clearly drawn for this congressional contest, with Cohen receiving Bala's backing both in 2019 and 2023, excuse me. Of course, to no one's surprise, Councilman at Large Joe Quintero, who ran with the mayor in 2021 and was the first to express interest in his bid for Congress, also gave formal declaration of support last month. Conversely, 2nd Ward Councilwoman Tiffany Fisher and 4th Ward Councilman Ruben Ramos, two potential mayoral candidates for 2025, who have been opponents of Bala on the council, have backed U.S. Representative Ron Menendez for a second term. Bala also wanted to say, quote, I am pleased to have Councilman Phil Cohen's endorsement. Phil's leadership on the city council. I can't even say this straight, folks. I mean, like, who believes this nonsense? Has been essential to many of the accomplishments in Hoboken. What accomplishments? Again, pronouns over property taxes, rainbow color repainting of the side of the crosswalks during Pride Month, making sure that drag queens and mentally ill people, trans people, it's the same thing, right, are being coddled during Pride Month in the city of Hoboken. He will be a tremendous advocate in Hoboken and throughout the 8th Congressional District during his candidacy. Folks, I can't laugh enough about Phil Cohen. Again, a guy. If Peter Cunningham chose to not run for re-election again, Peter Cunningham would have cleaned Phil Cohen's clock in the city council race. Again, hey, listen, shout out to Peter Cunningham. Wants to spend more time with his family, wants to walk away from Hoboken politics. Who can blame him? It's exhausting. It's stressful. It's laborious. So yeah, cool. Phil, yeah, listen, you're the councilman, cool. But any leadership on your part? Yeah, I've never heard of it. Any leadership on Robbie's part? Yeah, never heard of it either. But again, folks, are you really surprised in this type of circus when clowns embrace other clowns? Finally, folks, I do want to send you a reminder that coming up on Friday night, April the 26th, at the world-famous Lolita's Mexican Cantina, located at 8809 River Road in North Bergen, I'll bring you the 2024 edition of Memories Matter to benefit Alzheimer's New Jersey. You can check out their website via www.alznj.org for more information. And of course, I'm proud to partner with them to raise money to help raise awareness about dementia and Alzheimer's. Joining me that evening will be my amazing co-host, Vladimir Carrero, Emily Amato, Jacqueline Rodriguez, and of course, Yoneli Guerrero. We'll greet you at the door, and we are asking for a $20 suggested donation. And once again, all proceeds will benefit Alzheimer's New Jersey. There'll be valet parking available on the premises, incredible music by DJ Ziggy Roman, a 50/50, and raffles available, as well as the outstanding menu you've come to rely on when it comes to Lolita's Mexican Cantina in North Bergen. So once again, mark it on your calendars for Friday night, April the 26th, starting at 7 p.m., and we'll be partying well into the night and early morning here. Once again, and all proceeds benefit Alzheimer's New Jersey, and together we can defeat Alzheimer's once and for all. And that's our show for this week. Once again, to check out all the excellent programming brought to you by the leader in independent media right here in Hudson County, the Hudson Media Group, please check out their website, www.hmgtvshows.com, as well as www.livestream.com/hmgtv. Don't forget to like the Hudson Media Group on Facebook, and of course, follow them on Instagram and Twitter. Don't forget to check out my own handles as well, as you see below. Of course, folks, sharing is caring. Click that share button on all of your social media platforms and show your support for Talking Politics right here with the Hudson Media Group. Always remember, if it's unbiased, unfiltered, and unafraid, it's Talking Politics right here with the Hudson Media Group. I am New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist, Top 50 Latino, as voted on by the Latino Spirit online magazine, along with the United States Latino Affairs Initiative. And now more than ever, folks, I'm proud to be your weapon of mass disruption in Garden State Media, because my level of honesty is truly necessary in this era of journalistic deception. And that's right, folks, I'm everyone's favorite conservative. Yes, it's me, Fernando Uribe, saying so long, folks. Thank you so much for watching. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I can't say enough how privileged I am, again, as we are just about to hit the 5-year mark here with the Hudson Media Group, what a privilege it is to work with their CEO and executive producer, Pat O'Melia, and of course, all the great staff here at the Hudson Media Group. And of course, my fellow co-hosts, John Hines, host of the Hudson County View Live, Anthony Romano, Hudson County Commissioner with Stick at 9, and of course, all the other great shows associated with the Hudson Media Group. I feel so privileged. Here's to 5 years with the Hudson Media Group, and here's to many more years on this outstanding local news network. Once again, folks, I'm Fernando Uribe. Thank you so much for watching, and thanks for stopping by.